We are live. We are here. We doing a Facebook Live AMA event. It is real. It is happening. Gonna go ahead and tweet this out as well. Ooh. Thank you, calling to use by Jalen. Perfect. Perfect. What was that?
Allie.
Of course. Of course. Let's see here. Do this. Why can't I share this? I would like to share this. There we are. Copy link. There we go. That's what I meant to do. All right, we're live. It's happening. Let me get this tweet and we will get started here in a jiffy. Boom. There we go. To do one more thing here, and I'm going to get started. Okay, we are live and it is happening. It is going down. Welcome to the old Art by Jalen Facebook page, everybody. Hope you're having a great day on this lovely Saturday. We got Army and Navy squaring off. It's cold outside. It's feeling like Christmas, and I'm jolly as St. Nick. So let's get into it. All right. So I was asked by somebody on the AMA Feeds website, was one of their directors of like media and advertising or something, to do a little AMA about my book that's coming up. If you're tuning in, it's Mothman Reborn. I've got the link to the Kickstarter here in the side of the channel bar there and whatnot. It's all right here. Got a link to my YouTube page as well. It might be on this side. Is it? Which side is it? You guys tell me. Either way it works. But yeah, so what basically this is just pretty cut and dry. You guys ask questions, I'm going to answer them. So I'm going to leave this on for about an hour. I still have some work I got to get done on the book, so I don't want to take too long. Also trying to head down to Rolla, visit my grandma. So, you know, I still got some stuff to do today. So let's get it going. So the first question that was asked to me from I hope this is saying the name right, Rana Cruz Field. She asks, what are some of your personal hobbies and interests outside of drawing comics? And personally, mainly anything revolving comics. I watch like AMC, the Collider movie news about comic books. I read comic books. I'm also a volleyball coach, and I'm doing my master's program there at Missouri Baptist. So outside of comic books, it's just kind of anything that involves comic books, really. Video games. I like to play League of Legends sometimes. It's pretty fun. But yeah, that's pretty much anything outside of comic books that I do. I also have a podcast with my buddy Bilky. That's doing all right. It's a little bit of nerd podcast. You guys can check that out on iTunes and download it for yourselves. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's stuff about comic books, TV, video games, anime, all the good nerdy stuff that you need in your life. So those are my main hobbies outside of comic books. The next question was asked by Nikita Groblier. Hope that's right. Have you ever drawn your own unique characters for your comic books? I have not yet. This book, Mothman Reborn, is someone else's brainchild, someone else's creation. To date, I have not drawn anything that's like unique in my own that I've developed like all the characters for, or done all the concept art and writing for, or anything like that. But I mean, I do feel like these are my characters, even though they were thought of by my writer, but I was the one who had to like design and make them look the way that he wanted. So I kind of feel like they're my own, but as far as like what your question is specifically asking, no, I haven't drawn my own unique characters in a book yet. I hope to one day, if I ever have time. That'd be really cool. I do have a couple of ideas in my head that I've partially written and developed, but not, like I said, it's more of a time thing than anything else. Time these days is very valuable, so I try to manage that as much as I can. The next question comes from Vicky Ife. If you were to live your life all over again, would you still pursue the same career? Probably. There's no way that without art in my life, without being able to sketch and express myself in the way that I'm able to, that I don't know. It's such a stress relief. It's such an escape. It's such a great experience being able to have the freedom to just make things. I don't know. I think that what I'd be able to do is just that kind of thing. It's just I don't think I would ever change that. I'm comfortable with the life that I've lived, and I like where I'm going right now. Even working as an independent comic book artist, it's fun, and I don't think I would change anything as far as if I could live my whole life over again. No, I think I'd still find a way to get into comics, get into drawing somehow. It's just in me. I don't know what it is. The next question that comes up is from Kamranahar. Kamranahar. I hope I am saying that name right. I apologize if I'm not. But what's the best advice you have ever received as a comic book artist? Oh, there's a couple. There are a couple. I think if you're asking for the absolute best, it's kind of a two-part advice that I got from this guy named Evan Burse. And he has an art community. I don't know if you guys have ever heard. You guys might have heard of Evan Burse and his Cartoon Block Academy kind of thing. So he has an email list, and me and him got emailing back and forth one day, and he gave me some pretty good insight into working as an artist in general. And then Todd Knock also I've DM'd Todd Knock a couple times about it, and I think the best advice that they gave me was to just do what you want to do with comic books. And also my buddy Arta de Castro, he's on Instagram. Please check him out. He's got fantastic art on his channel. Kind of advised me to do that same thing as well. And then oh man, the old Pops is on the stream. What's up? He's also right in the living room, so it's even funnier. Nerd. But the best advice that I ever got, I think, was just to understand who I am and then pursue that as far as my comic book art career. And and then I also heard like a kind of a piece from Todd McFarlane. He was doing an interview with someone, and one of his things was like, don't aim for the big two, realize what level you're at and kind of aim for those guys and try to knock those guys off. Because once you're in the door, that's when you can start making moves, So I think that is probably the best advice I ever got, was just to understand who you are and as an artist, like the kind of things in the stories that you want to tell, and then, you know, don't try to go work for the big two right away, because that's a lot of pressure when you think about it, and you're going to be drawing these characters that have to kind of fit in a sandbox, sort of say. um, there's not really much you can do creatively as a new artist working in the industry. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room that you get from a Marvel or a DC when you're drawing their characters. It's here's how we want you to do this book. Here's how we know this book will sell, and you got to do it this way. So that's why I think I got so involved in trying to develop independent comic books so much. And yeah, that's mainly my thing there. Next question comes from, oh man, you guys are killing me with these names. Anika Tiddley, I hope that's right. What are some of the most difficult challenges you face when creating your own comics? Number one is time, especially for me. Doing this book, we started this in January of I guess January of this year, but it was towards the end of my last semester of my undergrad in 2016. And then also resources, just the time, and then the money and the availability to get a book out. You'd be surprised, even if you do it as cheap as you can, it starts to add up really quickly. But I think the most difficult challenges of creating a comic book is time. You have to find so much time, especially if you're in my position where I'm doing full illustration. So I'm doing layouts, pencils, inks, colors, lettering, logos, putting all the books together, doing the PDF format, converting the PDF to CBR so we can get it to you guys in a digital comic format, and making sure all that is correct, you know, adjusting the image sizes, all that kind of stuff. It just takes so much time. So time is easily the biggest obstacle, most difficult barrier that you're going to face if you're going to make your own comic book. And but the upside to that is you have the creative freedom to do whatever you want with the story. And I think that's why I'm so in love with this project in particular. And I feel so blessed that it's my first, you know, paid gig as, you know, a comic book artist. Being able to do a book like this where I really get to just flex and do my thing, be creative, you know. That's my my big thing there. Clarissa is the next question we have, and she asked, what inspired me to become a comic book artist? A combination of things, Clarissa, a combination of things. Mainly, to be honest, it was made out of stress. Was my desire to become a comic book artist, and kind of just this weird, I had like an Oprah light bulb aha moment. Yeah. So it was like I think it was the end of 2014 going into 2015. I had gone through some stuff personally, and I just kept going back to sketching and drawing, and it was like at a decent level. It's the level I'd always been at. I was just kind of the kid in school that could just draw really well, but there were a lot of, you know, little things that were missing from being really good. So I never really practiced it. I just kind of skated by on talent. And then I got into my junior year in my undergrad, and I started to get a lot more kind of encouragement from my professors that I was taking these kind of slack off art classes from, as I call them, during my undergrad, to ease the pressure off of my psychology courses. And that kind of, the more encouragement I got, and the more that my other students that were actual art majors kind of kept turning their heads and were also encouraging me to pursue it, that kind of just kind of had a light bulb moment. And I was like, well, I mean, why can't I pursue some kind of career and still do school? So that's kind of when I took that winter break, and I got George Bridgman's books on anatomy and how to draw dynamic poses. I got a couple of versions of the Wizard magazine PDFs on constructing comic books, like paneling and storytelling, inking, and also drawing the figure in like a superhero format. So then that winter, I took a couple months and really fine-tuned my skills, and I tried to do a couple commissions, and those went well. And I just kept doing that while I was at my undergrad for the rest of that year. Now, fast forward to my senior year, it had gotten to a point where people, well, not people, but like more and more friends and family that I know and more distant people, I was just kind of putting things up on the internet and I was getting a lot of response from it. So then the light bulb situation went from more of a light bulb to a full on, like, the Lord has spoken, let there be light moment. And I just full tail decided I'm going to try to make a comic book with somebody. I'm going to make some sequential art pages and I'm going to go. So I did that, and I ended up on this website called Upwork.com, which is a freelance art site or hobby site, because I wanted to start earning revenue for what I was doing. I didn't want it just to be a hobby anymore. I wanted it to be like kind of a part-time job, and if it turns into something more, then keep pursuing it. And so far, phase 1 of that plan has happened. So hopefully phase 2 goes just as well. So I did that, and I met up with my writer, Steven, and he had this story about this teenage kid who was going to get these superpowers from an alien smoky figure demon thing. And I read the script for it, and I was totally bought in on it. So he hired me, and he tasked me with doing the job. And my dad had hooked it up and got me a Wacom tablet for Christmas that year. And so I started really kind of trying to figure out how to use the digital art medium with Sketchbook Pro as well. And a couple months of that, and the knowledge I already had of Photoshop, and we were in business. We were in character design by January of that year. So that's kind of what inspired me / how I got to be a comic book artist, Clarissa. And the next question comes from Mary Lorca, and she asks, how much do I earn drawing characters? And that kind of varies. Commissions, I can make anywhere from $50 to like $500 doing a commission. It just depends. This book, what I had set up with my writer was going to be on a monthly basis, and I told him it would probably take me about a year to make, 9 to 11 months. So he gave me like a flat rate, and that's kind of what we've been doing, and it's been working out pretty well. So, I mean, you make a pretty decent chunk amount of money. Obviously, if you work for one of the big two, you can make a comfortable living, and you can make, house payments and stuff. You can live by yourself if you work for one of the big two, but independent comic books is kind of its own entity, its own field, and it's kind of that starving artist situation when you work in this side of the industry, at least. Next question comes from Joyna Bacter, excuse me. Are comic book artists earning a lot financially in the art industry? Not a lot per se, unless you're like a superstar artist like a Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, John Romita Jr. One of those guys that's like on a big book like a Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. You're not making big bucks, but if you are working for one of those two companies, Marvel or DC, you're doing okay. You're probably pulling in like $60K a year. It's not the greatest, living situation, financial situation, but because of the recognition of those two companies, you make a lot of money off of commissions and stuff like that. So the bulk of the money that comic book artists make are off of their commissions and your guys' support, like fan support kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, I think comic book artists are doing okay in the industry, from what I understand and from what I've asked so far. Next question comes from Arnold Antonio. What are other art forms you excel in aside from comic book drawing? That would be Photoshop. I, for a long time, thought I was going to be a graphic designer, so I'm pretty familiar with Photoshop and doing like logos and graphics for that kind of thing. Other than comic book drawing, I think that's my biggest art like skill, is being able to use Photoshop. Next question comes from Vel 2017. Do you also write stories for the comics you draw? Currently, no. I hope one day that I'm able to write and draw my own book. That'd be really cool. But currently, no. I do not write any of the stories for the books that I draw right now. And maybe that's something I can do in the future. maybe not. I know me and my writer have talked about like story ideas for the next couple issues of this book that we're trying to get funded. So it kind of just depends on where this one ends up, but maybe in the future, but currently no. Ron 2K17 asks, how much time do you usually need to complete an entire comic book? Ron, that kind of depends. For this book in particular, I've been working on it for a year, and that's because, if you guys don't know, whenever a comic book's being made, there are multiple people that do each part of the job. So there are writers. They obviously write the book. They give the pencilers the story to put on the board and illustrate. Then usually sometimes it goes to an inker, and then it will go to a colorist. They'll color it, and then it will go to a letterer. So for my situation, for this current book that I'm on, I'm doing full illustration, also doing lettering and coloring. So this is taking me a full year almost to get this book almost done. And usually I think if I were to just pencil, I know I could probably get a book in thumbnailed and fully penciled and inked probably. I don't think I'm giving myself enough credit there. I know I could probably pencil and ink a whole book in about a month and a half or 2 months if that was my only job. But when it's full illustration and I'm having to do pencil, ink, layout, story, color, and lettering and logos and all the other stuff that comes with it, takes a lot more time. So I hope that answers your question a bit. The next question comes from Nice Z or Nix something. I don't know. I'm butchering all these names. They're very unique, by the way. So can you share some pieces of advice for aspiring comic book artists? Yes. My first bit of advice is to just literally whatever you see in your life, try to draw it. Because what a lot of people don't know is that the majority of the things that I draw are not characters. It is backgrounds, it is lamps, it is desks, it is a teacher's office, it is posters that are supposed to just fill in the background, it's really lame characters on the street. That's what you're going to spend most of your time drawing when you draw a comic book. So literally anything you see in your life, try to draw it. And then also try to draw every day. It's the only way that you're going to get better. Like anything else, it's practice, you know? So even if you only have 20 minutes in your day and that's all you got, take 20 minutes and draw something you haven't drawn before, or practice something that you're kind of getting better at. Something like that, you know, you'd be surprised how quickly it goes. As I mentioned earlier, in those 2 months or 2.5, 3 months that I took when I decided to really refine my skills and get going to where I am now, to where I was able to land a job. I'm still practicing, by the way. By no means do I mean to make you guys feel like, oh, he's like, I'm a master or something. I'm not. I still sketch every day. There's still things that I'm going through in classes that I'm taking right now to get better at drawing. So don't take that the wrong way. But in those 2-3 months, I was just every day, couple hours a day, working on something. One day it was hands, and the next day was hands and forearms, and then the next day it was hands, forearms, the bicep, and the shoulder. And then you just like work your way around the body of that, and then you go, okay, now I'm going to work on female hands, female wrists, female forearms, shoulder, chest, you know, the whole figure. And then you figure out, okay, well, let's try to put a female in a hotel or something, or draw a receptionist, and all the little things that would significantly point your eye to be like, okay, that's a receptionist, like, you know, stuff like that. So that's the biggest piece of advice, I think, is just to draw anything you see and draw every single day, and you'll be on your way, you know. And don't be afraid to draw something new or outside your comfort zone until you figure out what you really like and what gravitates to you and what people respond to most and what you feel satisfied drawing. Betka asks, this is our last question, I think. I'll do one refresh at the end and see if anything else comes up. 5 years from now, do you still see yourself drawing comics? Absolutely, for sure. I don't think there's anything that's going to stop me from drawing comic books, even if I I just don't see it happening. I mean, I'm doing my master's and getting my degree in school counseling and all that stuff, but I just don't think there's a universe that exists where I wouldn't be drawing comic books of some form, whether it's a short digital comic, whether it's actually working on books. There's not a universe, I don't think, that exists where I would be not drawing comic books. So I hope that answers your question. So let's do a little refresh here and make sure I didn't miss any questions. This actually went pretty quick. Let's see here. A little refresher. All right, so that was it. All right, so that's going to do it for the live portion of this AMA. I hope everybody had fun. Hope this helped a lot of people. The AMA is still live for the next 24 hours. Obviously, I'm not going to do a 24-hour live broadcast, but I figured I would do it for the first couple questions that came in because I really appreciate people coming in and hanging out and asking questions and showing interest in my art. It really was really cool, and I hope to do it again sometime for something, maybe my next book. If you guys haven't already, make sure you check out the Kickstarter link. It's there in the description. Also check out my YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe. I've got like tutorials, speed draws, anything you like, whatever you like. I got some sketch digest series on there. It's I break down some philosophical stuff and I answer questions like these about art, and I give you some insight into art and stuff like that on those videos as well. And then, if you guys like listening to me being weird and funny, I have a podcast, A Little Bit of Nerd. It's on iTunes. So just Google or look that up in your iTunes store and give it a download. Thanks a ton. It was fun. I'll see you guys next time, and hope you guys have a great day.